Brave Abhimanyu, the beginning of a legend. Long ago, in the wide plains of ancient India, where rivers shimmered like silver, where great palaces rose high, and where epics were born, there lived the Pandava brothers, warriors admired throughout the land for their justice and bravery. Among them, Arjuna stood out, a master of archery and strategy whose name was sung like a ballad across the kingdoms. Arjuna's wife, Subhadra, was known for her beauty and wisdom. One day, when Subhadra discovered she was carrying new life within her, the entire palace filled with joy. That child, even before his birth, was destined to become a legend, Abhimanyu. It was a quiet night. The moon shone brightly in the sky, and the stars glittered like 1,000 tiny lamps. In the stone courtyard of the palace, Arjuna sat with Subhadra. A gentle breeze carried the scent of jasmine from the garden. "Subhadra," Arjuna said softly, his voice like a lullaby, "shall I tell you about the most complex formation on the battlefield? This knowledge may one day help you." Subhadra turned to him with curiosity. "Tell me everything, Arjuna. Your words give me strength." Arjuna drew a deep breath and began. "Sometimes, enemies form a pattern so deadly that none who enter can return. It is called the Chakravyu, circles within circles, each step bringing new obstacles. But if you know the right path, you can reach the center." As Subhadra listened intently, the tiny Abhimanyu within her seemed to hear his father's words as well. Those words lit a spark in his mind, engraving themselves deep within him. But the explanation went on for a long time. The making of a young hero. Years passed. The explanation ended unfinished. And so it was that, even before birth, Abhimanyu learned how to enter the Chakravyu, but not how to escape it. The making of a young hero. Years passed. When Abhimanyu was born, everyone noticed the light in his eyes. Even as a child, he was curious, brave, and eager to learn. His playmates could already feel his natural leadership. One morning in the training grounds, a small bow was placed in his hands. Abhimanyu listened carefully to his teacher's instructions. He fixed his gaze on the target, took a deep breath, and released the arrow. When it struck the very center, his teachers looked at one another in amazement. "There's something different about this child," one said. Another smiled and replied, "It's as if he was trained before he was even born." As Abhimanyu grew, he learned not only how to use weapons, but also how to live by honor, justice, and compassion. The stories his father told shaped his heart, and he carved them into his soul. His dream was not only to be strong, but to serve his people. The war drums begin. But those days of peace did not last. War drums echoed across the land. The great battle of Kurukshetra was inevitable. As the Kaurava army loomed like dark storm clouds, the Pandavas gathered all their strength. 4 days and nights, countless heroes gave their lives on the battlefield. One morning, as the sky burned red with dawn, the enemy unveiled their deadliest move, the Chakravyu. In an instant, the battlefield transformed. A massive circular formation appeared, layer upon layer of soldiers interlocked like a living labyrinth. From the outside, it looked like an endless maze. None who entered ever returned. The Pandava soldiers shrank back in fear. Commanders looked at one another and whispered, "If only Arjuna were here." But Arjuna was fighting on another front and could not come. At that moment, young Abhimanyu stepped forward. His eyes were steady and resolute. "I can enter," he said in a calm yet powerful voice. A soldier cried out, "No. It's far too dangerous." You don't know the way out." A faint smile touched Abhimanyu's lips. "I know. But if none of us act, we will lose everything. I have to try." Into the heart of the labyrinth, Abhimanyu mounted his horse. He strung his bow, slung his quiver over his back, and charged forward. Dust rose around him, and the sunlight blazed upon his armor. When he reached the outer ring of the Chakravyu, he unleashed a storm of arrows. 1 arrow, 2, 3, each struck true. The enemy staggered back in shock. But as he entered the inner circles, the battle grew fiercer. Enemies closed in from every side, yet Abhimanyu guided his horse with breathtaking skill, his arrows finding their marks. His courage lifted the spirits of the Pandava soldiers watching from afar. "Look at him," they whispered. "He's only a youth, but he fights like an entire army." Fighting to the last breath. Hours passed. Abhimanyu fought his way to the very heart of the Chakravyu, but his arrows were running out. He drew his sword and leapt into the thick of the battle. With one strike, he felled 2 soldiers, then turned to face a third. Seeing his relentless bravery, the enemy commander shouted, "Stop him, no matter the cost." Even when his sword broke, Abhimanyu did not retreat. He grabbed the wheel of a fallen chariot, raised it as a shield, and swung it as a weapon. The enemy soldiers faltered, then surged forward again. Through the swirling dust, Abhimanyu's eyes still burned with light. "I will not give up," he cried. Every strike, every movement, became a mark of his heroism. At last, the overwhelming numbers closed in. Abhimanyu fell, but at that moment, the battlefield fell silent. Even the enemy stood in awe of his courage. One soldier whispered, "No one can truly defeat a heart like his." After a hero. As the sun set over the battlefield, the wind carried Abhimanyu's story far and wide. The Pandava soldiers never forgot his sacrifice. In villages and cities, by the glow of evening fires, people retold his tale. Children listened with shining eyes and said, "One day, I will be as brave as Abhimanyu." An old sage spoke softly, "Courage is sometimes stronger than knowledge." Abhimanyu has shown us that true power lies in the heart. And so the story of Abhimanyu was passed down through the ages. With each telling, it grew richer, inspiring countless souls. In the heart of every child, in the memory of every warrior, he lives on.